looking at it from the perspective of a seller, hey, I'm thinking about selling my house, Tom. What are some things as a seller should they be doing or can they be doing right now
Right.
to even maximize what is already a very beneficial market for them?
Yeah, so probably three things
Mm-hmm.
that I can think of right off the bat, or that kind of encompass a direction to go. And number one is to test the market.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that. Number
Sure.
two would be to maximize your exposure to the market.
Mm-hmm.
And then number three would be don't skip on the foundational issues of building that listing and prepping it for the market.
Okay. Yeah, and let's talk about a little bit of those
Yeah.
because let's dive a little bit deeper because I think that those are very important. I think the misconception right now is, hey, I can just put my house out there on Zillow or put it on Facebook and it's going to be sold the next day. Sometimes,
Maybe.
maybe,
Yeah.
but are you really doing your due diligence as a seller? Are you really maximizing the earning potential,
Right.
or the market potential, I should say, on that property? Probably not.
Well, and in addition to just raw numbers of people that are looking at it, there is a contingency or a thought process of what we're calling off the market homes now.
Yeah.
So, hey, Mike, he's thinking about selling his house. I know somebody wants to buy it, so we make a deal with Mike, and Mike never tests the market.
Mm-hmm.
It is crazy what the market is doing right now, and you may be shortchanging yourself some considerable cashola.
Yeah, I think
doing that.
there's a lot of agents out there right now really leveraging their relationships with other agents, trying to say, hey, if you know something coming up in this neighborhood or in this price point,
Right.
give me a heads up. Let me know. I have a perfect buyer for you.
Right. Which there may be certain situations that is appropriate.
Sure.
There's always the outliers, but on a bell curve.
Yeah, we're just talking the broadest generalities here.
Boy, it's not letting your home test the market is probably equates to leaving dollars on the table.
Yeah, and recently we experienced that with a listing where we had some folks very interested in it before we went to the market. And they were ready to write us an offer beforehand, and we kind of pumped the brakes with the seller and said, hey, we really think it's to your benefit to go ahead
Right.
and list this home and get it onto the market,
Right.
and let's see what the market tells us. If those
And
buyers, if those buyers are still interested, we'll give them we'll let them be the first ones in and go that route. But
that point right there is probably pretty prevalent or important to note that you can give people notification that say, hey, this is the time I'm going to the market, so they can get their ducks in a row.
8 a.m. on Thursday,
8
be
a.m.
standing
Thursday,
there.
be
You
ready
can
to
go inside.
and we'll give you the combo.
That's
but,
right.
But short of that, not giving the market a little bit of time, or that's kind of the next step in our conversation, but not letting the whole market take a look at it, you're probably leaving money and terms on the table.
Yeah, and for that particular seller, if they had gone that route, they definitely would have left money on the table.
Right,
So,
right.
multiple offers, multiple showings over the course of a couple days, and
Right.
They were able to,
And that house had deficits.
they definitely had deficits.
Yeah.
They were able to secure an offer that was definitely better than what that original offer would have been. Not only dollar amount wise, but also terms and conditions
That's
as
right.
well. Which, for whatever reason, we tend to lose sight of that. I feel like right now.
Right. You see so many agents posting sold in 12 hours.
Right.
They're all, but they're not maybe a little bit more holistic about, well, what did 12 hours get you?
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably point number two.
Okay.
Is to let that market percolate a little bit. We've got we've got some conflicts from showing positions, and what I mean by that is some agents are have short time frames. So when they put their home on the market, they're only allowing a 30-minute window,
Right.
and maybe not overlapping.
Mm-hmm.
So there's only so many slots in a day if they're not allowing overlapping, and that all comes from the COVID from last year.
Sure.
So that means you only get that number of buyers. Well, if you've got that many of buyers, maybe this is the buyer that would have written the best offer.
Mm-hmm.
So giving that the listing, the market, some time to actually see it, predefining some times of here's when we're going to show the property.
Yeah.
Here's when we're going to present the offers.
So that's kind of become somewhat of the norm, I would say. Most recently, is you see new home come onto the market. In prior markets, it was basically first come, first serve.
Yeah.
Get your offer in. If they like it, great.
Yeah.
If not, they'll counteroffer you, so on and so forth. Well, now you're starting to see, hey, we're listing our homes beginning 8 a.m. Thursday morning. The seller's not going to even review any offers until 8 p.m. Sunday.
Yeah.
Let's using an example. So that gives from Thursday morning really until Sunday evening. It gives that listing time to kind of materialize onto the market and get the maximum amount of buyers into it, and with the ultimate goal is securing as many possible offers as we can.
Well, there's three sets of people when you talk about that timeline. So the last one we did was from this last weekend was we started showing on Thursday morning when it got entered into the system, so 10 o'clock. And we predefined in the BLC from the agent to agent remarks that we would be reviewing offers at 1 o'clock on Saturday.
Okay.
So that was predetermined. There's been, so from the seller standpoint, that's good because you get as many people in. All right. From the buyer's perspective, it's good because we're all running around with all these buyers and we can't get in when the house sells in 20 minutes.
That's right.
So it helps us as agents with each other. And I think there's been a growing I don't want to say symbiotic, but basically it feels like the agents are starting to try to work together a little bit.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I think initially other agents would look at that showing time frame with a little bit of anger. Hey, that's not fair. We were first in.
Right.
We have an offer ready to go. We want to submit. You're basically leveraging us against everyone else. Well, I think folks have taken a step back from that and really realized that because it is such a constricted market, that it's really fair for everyone. We're creating more of a level, fair playing field, allowing everyone an opportunity who wants to see the home to get in a reasonable time period to get in and see it and weigh whether or not they want to make an offer on that property.
Yeah, as we were entering into this market, there were agents that would write like bonuses. Hey, if you'll accept our offer by 5 o'clock on Friday, we're going to offer this amount.
Sure.
And I think we've kind of blown past that.
I think so.
So now, our theory, and we have this conversation with the sellers up front about how that works from a agent standpoint and a buyer standpoint / seller standpoint, which are two different, which we'll hit in just a second. But, our opinion in general is, hey, if you're willing to pay $250 for it at 5 o'clock on Friday, you're probably still willing to pay $250 for it at 1 o'clock on Saturday.
That's right.
Right? Because there's just not enough supply out there. So trying to push that through, I think there's been some pushback from agents and sellers, listing agents and sellers to, that kind of starts a conversation off on a negative manner. So I think the buyers have realized, okay, we better be respectful, or we better take into consideration what a listing agent is describing as what will be comfortable for the seller. So it helps the seller because you get more people through. It helps all the buyers that are all trying desperately to get into a house.
Yeah, like trying to leave at noon on Friday on
Right.
their lunch break to go see a
Right.
house, because if they wait until Saturday morning, it's going to be gone.
Right. So it helps them, and then it's been helping us as agents to work with each other.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that has done, on the buyer side, and I know we're talking about sellers today, but on the buyer side, it gives just that moment of breathing room for a buyer where while they're standing in the kitchen, they're in 5 minutes, they're not making that huge decision of do we want to make an offer or not.
Right.
It gives them a chance to go home, even sleep on it sometimes, and
Right.
hey, the next morning
Yeah.
we're ready to go, or no, we had a change of heart.
When this started, it was the phrase it was if you sleep on it, you're not sleeping in it. Remember?
Right, that's right. Well, and that's because this wasn't the norm,
Right.
where these windows of showing and offer deadlines weren't a part of the deal just yet.
And I will tell you that from the listing side of it, in general, I'm seeing most of the agents play nice in the sandbox now.
I am too.
Yeah. So which is nice.
Yeah, and
it works.
So what I'm also noticing is a lot more buyers agents really reaching out either ahead of time or immediately after a showing to try to feel out, hey, what are the seller's goals here? What
Right.
Is there anything particular they're looking for? Not necessarily dollar amount, but is there specific terms and conditions that is a sticking point for them? And really trying to navigate that before ever submitting the offer. That way, the offer you are submitting is truly your highest and best right
Yeah.
off the bat.
Right.
And I think at least for now, the the days of coming in below list price. What's my favorite
Yeah,
line when it
right,
comes to
right.
list price?
That's your starting point.
Yeah, list
Yeah.
price is the starting line right now. So
Yeah. And they've
finish
got-
line is somewhere else.
The other thing that helps our sellers by having that predefined timeline is we're seeing fewer and fewer escalation clauses.
Yes, thank you.
know? And from the listing agent standpoint, how that works, the technical way that you have to work an escalation clause is you have to counter.
Mhm.
So you give up your control of just accepting an offer. You give that up and you give it back to the other agent,
Yeah.
and now you've lost your momentum. And if that agent says, you know what, buyers change their mind, right?
And all the air just sucked out of the room.
It just sucks it out of absolutely. So we're seeing fewer of those now because it's like we're telling you right now, we want your best offer by this time frame, and we're discussing the offers with the sellers at 1 o'clock.
Right.
So that has driven, I think, fewer escalation clauses, which is better for a seller.
Absolutely. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And it's definitely unique. It's not what we are accustomed to, but again, with a lot of things, I think during COVID, I think us, agents as an industry, we really kind of just, trial by error, and we just kind of figured it out.
Yeah.
And what was not the norm 3 months ago now is the norm because it's really benefiting everyone. Right. So you talked about, hey, test the market. I want to circle back to that first one real quick. Test the open market. What exactly do you mean by that? So we're talking about you're a seller. You're thinking about selling your home. Mm-hmm. Why is it important to not? We hit it on a moment ago about not accepting the first offer, but really giving it time to get out there and get folks looking at it.
Yeah. So the broad thought process of testing the market is to give the market, all of the buyers, and we do the reverse prospecting, right? So as a listing agent, I can look into the BLC and I can see, hey, here's all these agents who have stored searches for their buyers, and their buyers have, we call it harding, but on their portal where the buyers from the other agents, we as listing agents can see the list of all the agents, and then we can see if how many buyers there are. And we can see that it starts with the buyers that have hearted it, which means we really like that house.
That's right.
And then we call it light bulb. Light bulb next is I think this could be one of interest, right? We're seeing more and more and more of those, and so we want to make sure that all those buyers get the opportunity to see it. Talking about the timelines of it, and then this kind of I don't want to say a weird thing, but one of the things we're finding is there are the agents that are Johnny on the spot. And boom, it goes on the market at 10, and at 10:05 we've got a showing request.
Yeah.
Perfect. But we're also finding that the best offer doesn't necessarily come in at 10:10.
Yeah.
The last one we did, the offer didn't come in. We literally set the deadline for 1 o'clock, and the offer came in at 12:45, and that was the winning offer.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So taking that first offer because it looks good might be acceptable, but might not be the best.
Yeah. So
but I want to point out on that too that waiting past that 1 o'clock deadline, thinking you're going to get better, probably that's a downhill move.
Yeah. So you have that peak in the first couple days, whatever that time frame is, and then usually after that you start going back down.
You've announced to everybody this is when I'm going to do it, so everybody tries to get in, and then after that, if you don't hit that, that's sending bad signals out.
Yeah, I agree. So getting it onto the market, not selling it, to someone off the market ahead of time because someone interested.
Or this is the one that I get a lot too is, hey, I got a mailer from a real estate agent that said they had a buyer for my house.
Right.
Right. Okay, so they probably do.
Yeah.
All right, that's awesome. But if you just act on that one, that again, in my opinion, is probably leaving some money in terms of the table.
You're not getting the best possible deal for it. So there's that, and then we already talked about maximizing the exposure to the market, which is basically, hey, it's not first come first serve. Let's set up a period here where we get a max the maximum number of people in. And then the third thing really is, doing your due diligence ahead of time to put your best foot forward as a seller.
Right.
Because believe it or not, even in a market right now that is so, is so swung to the seller side,
Yeah.
the sellers still need to do their due diligence ahead of time. And what are some of those things?
Okay, good question and 100% accurate. So, for example, photos.
Right.
All right. This one, don't cheat on the photos.
God,
don't
please.
cheat on the virtual tours. Don't cheat on the homework.
No
don't,
cell phone photos for crying
yeah,
out
we get
loud.
so many of those.
We're seeing a little bit of that coming back now.
I swear they're using the phones, the flip phones for those photos.
Yeah, you can see the agent in the bathroom mirror taking a picture of the
Right.
please.
And the point of
stop.
that is that you have this time frame that you build the excitement about the house, right? And that excitement your photos and all the pre-marketing, all the marketing you do impacts who thinks and gets excited about the home. And here's an example. I have literally in my career sold a home to a buyer that saw it previously when it was listed with another agent. It didn't sell because it had crappy photos. Came back on the market with new photos, and they said, we want to go see that house, and they bought it.
And they bought it. Yeah,
Right.
It's
So even though the market is forgiving right now, I think as a listing agent, you're doing a disservice to your seller if you don't do everything you have the power to do to make your home look its very best to the masses,
yeah.
so that there's maximum excitement and interest generated from that platform.
Yeah, and as painful it is to me and you, we know there are agents out there and there are sellers out there who are okay with mediocre, and it's like, hey, this thing's going to sell in 2 days anyways.
Right.
Why are we wasting our time and energy getting professional photos done or running any sort of social media ads on the property or, doing all those things that we would traditionally do?
Yeah.
We don't need to do that right now. Well, you're saying you absolutely do, and it's still important because where are the vast majority of buyers right now starting their search? Are they starting at the front door, or are they starting on their phones?
On their phone.
That's right. They're looking at the photos. So if there's that excitement and that appeal to that home, and sure, sometimes it's going to be, hey, this is the only home available in this zip code and our price point. We need to go look at it.
Right.
But a lot of times, that's gonna put a thought in their head where when they go into that showing, are they going to be prepared to submit the highest offer possible on the property?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we've got time for a couple questions. What's our advice for sellers being approached by buyers who want to turn a property into a rental?
That is an excellent question.
Ooh, so I think we're probably talking about institutional.
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot, not a lot, but we're seeing it, well, in some cases, we're seeing an increase of investor buyers right now, and I'm not talking onesies and twosies, Mr. and Mrs. Investor client or buyer out there looking to find a deal. We're talking basically hedge funds where these large scale investor groups coming together, pulling all their money and offering really top dollar in some cases in cash to buy your home.
Tough situation. I mean, I think we talked last week where we got a proof of funds for a hedge fund that showed $211 million in their account.
I think they can afford that home.
You show that to a seller, and it is difficult. Now, I did have a seller this weekend where we had some investors, and it wasn't the determining factor for her, but she did want to sell it to a homeowner. I mean, that was part of her thought process, is she wanted owner occupied. There were other factors that impacted that were price and terms, but that conversation does come up. And in our community now, from agents that are trying to get our buyers into the homes, there is a movement is a strong word, but there is a thought process that's growing some energy about keeping homes as for the homeowners, as opposed to
owner occupied instead of investor owned.
Yeah, be honest with you, I don't know the ramifications of that with with MIBOR and NAR and those types of things. But at this point, we still look at the overall picture. But if you've got two offers that are relatively the same, and one's an investor and the other is a homeowner, is a seller allowed to make a determination based on that,
Sure.
right? And we have sellers that think that way. Sometimes you can use the investor to price and terms to negotiate with the homeowner.
Yeah, I know that there's some homeowners that we've come across where, they've lived in the home, they've raised their family in the home, they've been in the neighborhood for 20 plus years, since it was built sometimes, and they're not selling to anyone but a homeowner.
Right.
They want to hand that home over, or the home over, to another family, essentially. But from our perspective as agents, our fiduciary responsibility to the seller is always just that, always looking out for their bottom line and their best interest. So we're always going to present, any and all offers that we receive. So sometimes
I've had sellers who have, the investor offer is just so good. I mean, they just can't say no.
You can't say no to it.
And it's and you got to do what the seller wants.
If they're coming in and they're offering you way above list price plus waiving inspections, and we can close in 10 days and you can stay in the home for another 30. As a seller, that's tough to say no to.
Typically with those larger investors, again, not the mom and pop ones, but the larger investors, there are addendums and due diligence clauses. They certainly haven't been in the home. They may have sent their agent through the home, but they're just out broadcasting offers because it meets their criteria.
Yeah, they have certain areas they're targeting.
So those terms sometimes can be intimidating to a seller, because it for the ones that I've seen, they basically give the investor a free ticket out.
All out.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I go to the other side of that. They're not in Indiana. They haven't made associations with their real estate agents and their all their connections to not buy homes. So their intent, I think, is there. But there is another layer of complexity, potential complexity, when it comes to having the big hedge fund companies come through.
Yeah. So I guess, kind of circling back to the question, there isn't a specific answer we can give. There's not a right or wrong answer, I would say.
The only one would be is if the HOA has limitations on the percentage of, or if you can rent, or if there's percentages.
Yeah, some neighborhoods it has to be owner occupied. So, and I feel like most of those hedge fund type investors, they're targeting specific neighborhoods or specific areas. They know what neighborhoods that they can and cannot go into. So. And there's some neighborhoods, that there's just more rental properties in that neighborhood. So for them, that's a golden opportunity for them to acquire more properties. So if you're a seller that lives in one of those type of neighborhoods, maybe pulling at the heartstrings isn't quite as strong, because it's like, hey, 4 homes on my block are all rental properties. Why does it make a difference if mine becomes one or not?
5, right.
So it's really going to be very situational dependent, and that's where I think, working with a skilled agent who can help navigate that is really paramount, I would say. So.
All right, so let's wrap up on this, because we have one more topic we need to cover.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so 3 things a seller should do: test the market, expose it to as many people as possible by having enough time for the masses to look at it, and then the last one is don't skip on the foundation of building your listing out. All right. Good. All right, this is kind of an off topic, but Mike and I are both pilots.
Hey.
And we are looking to put some kind of creative edge or name with our with this process or this show. And so we're looking for any input from anybody out there that might have something to maybe give us some ideas on how to do that. We're thinking like 2 pilots in a basement talking real estate. That's really corny, but something along those lines. So if you got any good ideas, throw them out to us.
Yeah, and if you're not subscribed to our Facebook and Instagram channels, it's a great chance for you to hop on there, like those pages, and every now and again you'll see some pictures of Tom and I, just as we did last week, going up and flying over the city of Indianapolis. We hit Geist Reservoir, Morris Reservoir,
Windmill Farm in Tipton,
the Tipton Windmill Farm, and really everything in between, from Fishers all the way up through Cicero. So
it's pretty cool.
Really cool. So stay tuned for more of that. We'll be building upon that and doing, I think, probably some area tours of the area.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, we'll go fly over some awesome properties, I'm sure. Yep. So, and maybe make our camera woman in the back seat throw up or not throw up on us. We'll see how that works out.
Practice stalls.
Yeah, we'll have to feed her some Polish sausage and some greasy pizza or something right before we go airborne.
All right. Well,
So-
we appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you, everyone, and stay tuned, and we'll do it again here in another.
Next subject. Appraisals are the next subject.
Okay, so
Should have stuck that in there.
there you go. Appraisals, everything you want to know and thought you never knew. We'll cover.